right, we got a fun one today. A while back, a number of you asked me, how do you make a beat like Dub Phizix? So today I'm going to show you my take on how you make that really syncopated halftime vibe that you can find with tunes from Dub Phizix. And shouts out to Dub Phizix for the inspiration in today's video. Make sure you check out his music. But today's video, the lesson is about syncopation and really observing how the hits play off each other. It's all about careful placements of hits to create that groove and syncopation. And by the way, my name is Stranger, and if you want to improve your music production and sound design, especially with dance music and drum and bass, then this channel is for you. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. It helps me out so more people like you can see my videos. Alright, without further ado, let's get right into it. First and foremost, today's video is sponsored by Unison Audio. Their Beatmaker Blueprint pack is out now. You might have caught the teaser pack, which was for free a couple weeks ago, but the full pack, which has over 9,000 loops, samples, and MIDI kits, is out now, and there's a lot of useful content in this pack. I'll be creating a track today completely with samples from this pack. I really like the percussive hits in this pack. However, they also have a really good set of musical construction kits, which they call musical loops, which also has stems and MIDI files, which is super useful. So if you're interested in grabbing Unison Audio's Beatmaker Pack, you can check it down in the link below. As well, from what I can see is if you sign up now, there's actually a lot of bonuses included. There's a contest where they're giving away $5,000 of studio gear. There's also a private Facebook and Discord group. As well, there's also additional material such as PDFs and video guides to help you along your production. Also, if you bought it and you're not satisfied, there's a 60-day money-back guaranteed. All right, here's the Unison Beatmaker Blueprint Pack, and there's this percussive folder, which I really like. It contains some really unique percussive hits, which is very useful if you want to do that kind of halftime Dub Phizix vibe. Then you want tons of kind of weird kind of wood percussion to add syncopation and rhythm to your beat. And this folder contains hundreds of samples, so you have tons to last you for a while. Also, as I mentioned before, there's a great pack of melodic construction kits here. They call it melody loops, and it's categorized by vibe. So there's like dark aggressive and drill and UK. There's a sad emo and trap folder. What's great about these folders is there are construction kits like MIDI files and stems, but if you want to use it as a one file as a mixed file, there you can find them here as well. Again, if you want a single stems, just go into the MIDI folder and then you can grab them, break them up by individual layers. Or you can take the MIDI files and recreate it using your own instrument. So this is super useful because it helps you arrange a track. Sometimes when you just have the mixed audio loop, you're just stuck with that and it's hard to arrange a track, but having those individual stems is super useful. So we're going to be using the melody loops later. We're first going to construct the beat. So here's a selection of drum hits I've selected from the Unison Beatmaker Blueprint Pack, and I've placed them all in one drum rack because in today's exercise, it's important for you to see where the hits are placed relative of each other so you can understand the syncopation and how hits play off each other. So here are the hits. First and foremost, I'm choosing hits that are a bit tighter for that super modern, tight feel. And here's the additional wood percussion that we're going to be using to create that kind of perky, funky Dub Phizix feel. And to begin, we just have a regular hi-hat playing on every eighth note. This just helps with the counter as we create the beat. And I'm going to start with the beat on the 1. Okay. And the first part of the beat is what I find with this kind of style and a lot of Dub Phizix music is there's kind of a blend of half time as well as regular time drum and bass. That kind of double rhythm is kind of combined together to create this syncopation. So the first part is we're going to use this clap and we're going to sequence it at drum and bass time. So having a clap here and here for that step up pattern. So you have that boom, ka, ka. And then the next part is we add that half time. So having a snare or a different snare at that half point. So over here. So if you hear this on its own, I'll mute these guys. So that you have that half beat, right? Boom. And I'm going to layer this half beat with another hit just to accentuate it. So we have a snare and a snap layered together. Now for this snap, I'm just going to play a bit earlier to make it groove a little more. By playing it earlier, it makes the snap sound snappier versus this. And then I'm going to bring these claps back. These claps we can bring a bit earlier as well to make it snappy. Okay, we're getting there. The next part is all about the syncopation. So adding ghost notes to make it funky. And we're doing it at drum and bass speed. So this is when we're going to be using these wood hits. So I'm going to use this wood hit and place it over here. So one over here and here. Notice how it makes it a little more funky now. And then we're going to use this one over here. And if you like, you can add some variation of velocity so that these hits are a little more humanized. So for example, we can bring this down to 80. And we can bring this one down to 80 as well. All right, the next part is to apply some groove or swing to the beat so it's less robotic. So if you're in Ableton, apply some of their groove profiles. Just make sure you select a groove that has swing at the 16th notes because when you want these ghost hits to sound more funky, I'm going to use the ones that I've been using recently, which is Vocal Pocket's Groove Builders groove. So I'm going to select it here and then let's just hear it before and after. Okay, so it's subtle, but add something a little more to that groove. So this is a bit funkier. Next part is I'm going to extend this loop to make it a little more interesting. So let's just duplicate this pattern. And then let's add a double hi-hat at the end here. And we can just bring the velocity down to 70 here. And we may want to change up the syncopation. For example, this one, maybe I'll bring it here. So it's a little less predictable, and we can maybe for the second iteration, we can have 3 shuffles. So one more here. And maybe bring the velocity down for this one. I'll bring it down to 60 this time. Okay, and I'm going to duplicate it one more time to make this a little more interesting. And then at the end of the phrase, I'm going to add a hi-hat roll here just to make it a little more funky. And we can kind of make it fade in like that. Just hold Control or Command, click and drag up to draw. Let's check that out. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, and to make this a little more interesting, we can add more kicks to this pattern, right? So there's tons of options for kicks. You can put one here for that boom, buka, boom, buka, right? Let me just loop it on the section so you can just hear it repetitively. You can add another one here. Or you can go a little more funky kind of footwork style by putting it on the ghost notes here like that. And then Let's try something funky here, maybe a double kick like that. Let's see if that works. That's kind of cool. Let's try here. That works too. So there's tons of options. I'm just showing you the kind of the concept here. You don't have to make the pattern exactly like this. Just think about more the approach, right? It's all about syncopation, first and foremost, placing the drum and bass kind of rhythms or claps, and then adding a halftime snare, and then adding those ghost hits. And then with the kicks, you can kind of experiment, right? I like that. So let's just extend it all the way across and just copy these guys all the way across like that. All right, and that's a dope loop. So the lesson here is to really look at the pattern and look how the hits are placed relative to each other. What we're trying to do is fill in the gaps with those ghost hits so that they create a syncopation. And you'll notice that except for the snare here, there's rarely a point where the hits overlap. So if you look closely and you ignore the hi-hats and where there's a double snare here layered together, you'll notice that there's never a point where there's two hits playing at the same time, because what we're doing is trying to create syncopation, which is a sentence of hits where hits follow each other and play off each other. So for example, since we have a kick here, it wouldn't make sense to put a hit here, right? Because there's already a kick here. So you want to kind of isolate each placement so that it creates a sentence. It's like boom, tss, pa, tss, ka, tss, ka, that kind of thing. So it follows that kind of sentence with each hit. So hopefully that's a good hint on how to place the hits. It's all about finding like empty spots and filling it in. You don't have to fill every empty spot. So for example, you don't have to fill this spot and this spot, but you could if you want it to be really busy, right? You could change it up. You could add more percussive hits to add more variety, right? So I only have 2 wood hits here, but for example, we could have went into the pack and pulled some more percussive hits, like some really interesting ones, like even some of these, even the more cartoony ones will make your drum sound a little more interesting. So think of things that might not be traditionally a percussive hit. Like that's kind of cool, right? So you could put one of these off weird hits, maybe over here, right? And maybe, so there's an opportunity to put a hit here as well, right? It'll also help if I just make these hits the same length. So now you can see which placements you can have a hit, right? Maybe this one here and this one here, right? Right? So it's really identifying the sections of the beat where you can place the hits, and instead of overlapping hits, for example, instead of here, it's here, right? Except for the hi-hats. The kick and hi-hat and snare and hi-hat can play at the same time. All right, once we have the beat, let's add some more sounds. I'm going to use the melody loops from the Beatmaker Pack, and I found this loop that I really like. It's called the Crisis Melody Loop. So I really like this loop, but I'm going to use the stem so I can actually arrange the track. So okay, so let's just select it and pull it into our track here. Now I'm going to be shifting the key of these samples because I kind of want a little more range for the bass. So I'm going to pitch this by 6 semitones up. So let's take this melody loop and make it our own. So we can chop it up and rearrange it. However, a really quick way to chop it up is using Shaper Box, and then we can use the time shaper to do some really cool chop effects to this sound. So here's before. All right, that's sounding dope. All right, and then with this beat, I kind of wanted to combine the Dub Phizix sound with the more stranger sound with some grimy bass. So I'm using a preset from my Gnarly Serum preset pack. I just changed some of the waveforms of this preset to make it sound a little more gnarly. So here's the sound on its own. Key point of this sound is, one, there's tons of distortion here, but this waveform, it's playing a couple octaves up from the root note, right? And a really important part of this bass is I'm going to be using the glide and legato function so that when I join notes together, it's going to continue this envelope playing across. Having a little bit of glide just makes it sound a little more funky. So our key is actually G sharp minor. It's playing along with the melodic loop. Here's the bass pattern. All right. And then another thing I found really useful in the Unison audio pack, the Beatmaker Pack, is there's a folder of atmospheric sounds. And this is super useful for drum and bass because having atmospheric sounds help you kind of fill in that negative space and make the track a little less bare. So these kind of atmospheric sounds are super useful. This one actually sounds really good, so I'm going to pull it in over here. I had another one before, but now doing this video, I'm liking this one more. So the important thing is just notice the key. So this is C minor. However, we're playing G sharp minor. So G sharp minor is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notes up from C. So you're going to have to pitch this up by 8 to make it work. Then I added another one of these atmospheric loops that they play off each other, so it's not the same one playing it all the time. And if you want to be a little more pro of these kind of sounds, you can duplicate it and take this one and reverse it. So you can make it swoosh into the next one. Just make sure you'll have to move them to make it work. So for example, this should swoosh into this one like that. So maybe we can bring this back here and then just fade it in. So now you have this. Okay, so that makes it a little more smoother, right? Then we can just copy that all the way across. Finally, one more thing, going back into the drums, I find that having a fast shaker kind of helps with the rhythm of the track. So combine that together. That just makes it sound a little more together and a little more drum and bassy, for lack of better terms. And then you can group the tracks together and add some additional processing to make the drums a little more glued together. So to glue it together today, I'm using Rocket Powered Sounds Thickify. This is a cute little plugin. I love the cute happy face here. Now, it's not just a happy face. It gives you a bit of an indicator on what's actually happening to the sound. And let's hear all the layers together and increase the thickness of the drums here. What I like about this is there's auto gain so that it doesn't give you the illusion by making things louder. You might perceive that it's better, but they balance it so you can actually hear that if there's a benefit to adding the thickness. Let's hear before and after. Yeah, adds a little more meat to the drums. All right, so I have a number of elements here in the arrangement. Here's a little vocal sample I added from Flow Anastasia's sample pack, coming out soon on Deviant Audio.
Open your eyes.
And there's a bunch of good stuff in this pack, but we'll save that for another video. But let's check it out. We have an arrangement here, and let's hear the track in full.
Open your eyes.
All right, we got some vibes here, a bit of a Dub Phizix and Stranger vibe combination. Shouts to the Dub Phizix for the inspiration. All right, so that was my take on the Dub Phizix vibe. Shouts out to the OG Dub Phizix. And remember, the lesson today is syncopation. Notice how the hits play off each other to create a rhythm, kind of like a sentence. It's all about selecting the right hits, select the right kicks and snares that sound nice and tight, as well as adding funky and unique wood percussion to create that kind of syncopated ghost note vibe. And then from there, once you have the beat, add a gnarly bass line, add some music and atmospherics, and before you know it, you got a drum and bass halftime banger. And remember, if you're interested in grabbing Unison Audio's Beatmaker Blueprint Pack, you can check it down in the link below. But that's pretty much it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, keep practicing, and I'll see you at the next video. Hey, if you want to support, you can check out my products in the link below. My rollers kit for Ableton is out now, containing 23 modular instruments and over 400 MIDI and audio patterns. Use it to spark creativity for your next track. For the most upfront sounds and bass music, you can grab my gnarly serum pack or wubs and wobbles for Vital. You can also check out my jungle and liquid Ableton production kits. Hint, if you don't have Ableton, you can grab the Wave packs. If you're not ready to buy yet, you can always check out my free products also in the link below. Anyways, always appreciate your support. Have fun creating!